What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Cap Podcast, where we tackle the issues surrounding the greatest country ever established. 242 years running, and you are fortunate enough to be live right now. I am one of your hosts, Josh Groner, and sitting across from me is my good friend Tyler Rivers. How are we doing today?
What's going on?
Not much. We're just going to kick it off right now. I want to ask you a question. What does America mean to you?
What does America mean to me?
Yeah.
Freedom.
Okay.
For anybody who's willing to embody what it means to be an American.
Sure. Go a little deeper on that. What do you mean?
So, America was built, in my opinion, for people that wanted to escape tyranny, wanted to escape oppression.
Yes.
Kind of how that happened was Great Britain.
Yep.
And people left Great Britain. And
the king and a monarchy and the whole works.
Right. Came to the New World to be able to practice whatever religion they wanted to, be able to speak freely, be able to exercise whatever they wanted to in terms of speech, in terms of freedom and liberty.
Yep.
Now, I think in the modern sense, my definition of that would be America is a place where you can come and it's free.
Yep.
I think that...
Freer than anyone else.
I agree.
I don't give a damn what you Australians say. We're freer than you are. You guys can't own specific guns. We can.
They can hardly own any guns.
You guys can't say anything you want. We can.
That's true.
Take that, Australia.
Yeah, that's censorship.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think it's a free country. I think that the media skews it a little bit. I think that there's definitely a lot of security risks. So it definitely is a little more tight-knit than what it used to be, which is okay with me. I don't think that's unfair. But, no, I would say that freedom is something that America was founded on and created for. So I believe that's what it is to be an American, and that's what America is freedom.
Well said. Well said. For me, I always think it's just a land of opportunity. What does America mean to me? You can be anything. All right? You could be a janitor. You could be a CEO. You could be the president of the United States. You could be working at McDonald's. There's no limit to what you can or can't be. My issue that I'm having and why I raise this question to you is people are trying to change that. People are trying to change that in this country, and I don't think it's a good thing. So we're going to segue from this into our topic of the day, which is a second Revolutionary War. I think it's starting to happen.
Whoa.
I think it's starting to happen, and I don't mean it in the sense of Democrat, Republican. I don't mean it in the sense of good versus evil. I think it's a culture war, and I think the Revolutionary War Part 2 would be solely based on culture. Culture wars meaning, I guess you could go left versus right because they're so dramatically different, right? One believes in one thing, one believes in something completely opposite. I think that if we were to start a Revolutionary War, say, for argument's sake of this hypothetical, 2024, when President Trump leaves office, because he getting a second term. Obvious. So we're going to say it starts in 2024, okay? How would we kick things off? How would you think it would start? It definitely would start with some sort of Elizabeth Warren-esque president in 2024.
So that's my prediction is when Trump leaves office, we will have a Democratic president.
Yeah.
One that is very progressive.
Very progressive.
And one that somehow, one way or another, has a lot of leverage to get things done.
Maybe a lot of socialist tendencies.
Sure.
A lot of socialist views, I should say.
Sure.
Ideas.
Yeah. So how would I say it would start? I would say by the restriction of the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. I would say there would be a direct attack on the first 10, right? I feel like if you were to go and change the legal drinking age in the country and lower it or raise it, or I'm sorry, if you were to raise it to 30, I don't think people would start a revolutionary war on that.
Yep.
Do I think people would start a revolutionary war if the Second Amendment was edited?
Heavily?
Yep. Sure.
Yep.
Or do I think people would start a revolutionary war if they couldn't plead the Fifth Amendment and they couldn't remain silent, and they
Mhm.
had to speak.
That's a great way from where I want to go into right there. The pleading the fifth, right? Or because a lot of people plead the fifth when they're on trial or something like that for whatever. Right now, you got the whole Senate judiciary hearings with Brett Kavanaugh for Supreme Court of the United States, right? You have that woman, the doctor, saying that he sexually assaulted her back in 1982, right? What gets me is how these two polar differences right here. You have a lot of people saying he's guilty. He's already lost. He's already lost. He can't be on the Supreme Court. He's already. We got to get rid of him. We got to nominate somebody else. And you have other people like, well, let's hear him out. Isn't it supposed to be innocent until proven guilty? It's like you're automatically guilty of certain crimes nowadays.
Sure, yeah. So I think any kind of allegation against sexual assault, sexual abuse, anything sexual, you're automatically guilty. One woman cries out, you're done.
Ruins someone's life. And I'm not saying that she wasn't. She might have been.
Oh, I don't believe she was at all.
I don't really believe she was either. I think
Negative.
the whole FUBAR story that they're all coming up with.
Well, I have a question. Just to touch on that topic real quick.
Go ahead.
How can you accuse somebody of something and then say you don't remember if it actually happened or not? So if you don't remember, how can you accuse them of actually doing it if you don't remember?
Well, what's interesting is that a lot of sexual assault victims or survivors, whatever you want to call them, it's interesting because a lot of them think for a fact, like, this is who did it. I know for a fact this is who did it. And then sometimes they're wrong because their memories are skewed from a traumatic experience. Anyone who's in a traumatic experience cannot remember everything but perfect detail.
But it doesn't matter.
Well, sometimes is what I'm saying, that they're pointing the fingers at the wrong person.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
I agree with that, but I also think that there should be some sort of law put in place. Like, if you cannot prove that the crime happened with actual factual evidence, then the crime did not happen.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is in the issue of sexual abuse, sexual assault, or rape, I think that you should have to report the issue immediately.
Yep.
Or have definitive evidence. Because this happened over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
There's no way for anybody to factually come up with evidence unless you have a picture.
Yeah.
Or unless you have a blanket with certain stuff on it.
Yeah.
From each person. There's no way to tell what happened.
Unless you were a fly on the wall, you were physically there. It's
so to me,
impossible.
there's no way. He can never get convicted for this. This is a phony thing to be able to bring up. You should be able to bring it up and speak out publicly and say this is what happened. And then it should be left at that. There shouldn't be a trial for this. There shouldn't be a hearing for this. This is phony, in my opinion.
I don't like the whole agree or believe all women argument.
I agree.
Because, if I were a woman, I could just say, this guy did something to me. And it's like you automatically have to believe it.
Right.
They're not always telling the truth. I understand it's a touchy subject, very personal. But where I'm trying to get on this is that guilty until proven innocent seems to be where the left wants to go with this, which is why I think it'd be dangerous if in 2024 we have someone like that as president.
I agree.
That would be a kicking off point for no, this is not what America was founded on. This is not right. There's a reason we are innocent until proven guilty.
Right. I agree. So another one would be if search and seizures became more prominent. DUI checkpoints. A lot of guys disagree with DUI checkpoints. They call them unlawful.
Mm-hmm.
I agree that they're unlawful.
They're definitely unlawful.
I think you should be able to roll up, whether it's a border patrol stop, so it's a custom stop, and you're inside America. Now, you're not at the border. You're not crossing in from one country to another. You're just in America. There's one line.
Wasn't there a state border when we were driving from Nevada to California? Wasn't there a state border that you had to pass?
Yeah, and there are state borders everywhere.
Yeah, but
we had to go through a toll.
Yeah,
we were on a toll road.
It was a toll road.
Yes.
It wasn't a toll road because we didn't get charged for any tolls. That's beside the point.
Maybe it wasn't.
I remember ICE was on the road though. We were driving to Nevada and we saw ICE.
Yeah, we did.
I thought that was kind of funny.
But so I don't think. Here's the thing. Now in America, you should be able to travel freely and unmolested. Nobody.
Yes.
You cannot be pulled over unless you are under reasonable suspicion of committing a crime.
Yep.
DUI checkpoints do not permit that.
Nope.
You cannot be pulled over. You roll up to a DUI checkpoint. My best advice, and I'm not a lawyer, so do not quote me in a court of law, but you roll up to a DUI checkpoint, you need to crack your window, calmly say to the officer that you're not going to hand over your license or your registration.
Yep.
You don't consent to any searches.
Yep.
And ask, are you being detained? If not, ask if you're free to go.
Yep.
And you don't have to answer any questions without a lawyer present. That is your right in America.
Yep.
In all 50 states. There's no state that can tell you that you have to step out of the car, even if they ask.
Yeah.
You can come back and say, what did I do
know
wrong?
my rights.
Well, here's the thing. Wait until those laws change. Wait until
Sure.
a police officer can pull you over and just tell you, hey, get out of your car. I'm going to search you.
Yep.
No, it's a violation of your right.
It could happen.
And that is what's going to trigger the next major revolutionary war.
Yep. Something just like that. I want to get to freedom of speech. That's my big one.
Sure.
If they ever censor me,
V for Vendetta.
I can't say something, I'm censored, that's when I'm triggered. Genuinely triggered. Because if you cannot voice your opinion or you're being censored, like Google right now. Google right now censoring everything.
Yep.
Google giving out false information and stuff like that, that triggers me. Because that's bad. Even if it's for social justice and equality for everyone, there's still, like fascist Italy. Mussolini said what the newspapers could report, and everyone in Italy thought things were going fantastic. Nope, wrong.
Right.
Things were terrible. We were in a world war.
Right. Yeah, I think it's tough because the First Amendment can be a little weird because our First Amendment rights are already limited.
Mm-hmm.
They already have quote unquote edits to them and restrictions. Right. So
a lot of them, yeah.
You can't freely go out in public and make a threat.
Rightfully so, though, right? I mean, it's
right.
not like,
No. I'm not disagreeing with that.
Sure.
I agree with that. But the First Amendment literally says that you can say whatever you want.
Yep.
But you can't. Now, I agree with it. I agree with what the laws say now. That you shouldn't be able to go face somebody, say that you're going to kill their entire family.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that once. I know in Massachusetts there's a harassment law.
Yep.
Whereas if you say it to the same person 3 times, it can be considered harassment.
Yep.
And that's a misdemeanor all its own.
Yep.
But I think that when it becomes to the point where you can't go onto your social media and you can't say how you disagree with the president and you all of a sudden you get kicked off of that social media platform because of your comment.
Yep.
That unless it's a private forum. Unless I'm Tyler Rivers and I own it and when I give you the agreement, I say, hey, listen, you're not to talk about this on my website. And you agree to it. That's the only time.
Yeah.
You're on a social media platform where you can say whatever you want.
Well, that's where I think it's funny that, somewhat of a side note, it's funny that mostly left-wing, like Twitter's very left-wing, Facebook's very left-wing, stuff like that. There's not really that right-wing social media. That's something that Republicans never got.
I would say Instagram. Instagram is big with right-wing stuff.
They don't censor a lot like Twitter.
Right,
or
correct.
Facebook.
Yeah, Instagram doesn't censor a lot unless it shows nudity, unless it shows hard drug use.
Yeah.
Or unless it shows any kind of blood and gore, like murders.
Yeah.
Like you won't find like a live leak video of someone getting decapitated on Instagram.
Probably for good reason.
You know what I mean? Or it might be up there.
Let the 12-year-old see it if they want to see it. I don't care.
Yeah, no. It might be up there for like an hour or so, but it'll be taken down.
It gets taken down pretty quick.
Sure.
I love that one. But these are all like small things that I think that could trigger a revolutionary war. Here's one thing too that I kind of want to bring up. If it was on like maybe the right side, maybe the right starts it, right? Okay.
I don't care who starts it.
Well, I'm just saying, for example,
I know who's going to finish it though.
Here's how Republicans. I'm going to get to that because I think you're wrong on that aspect.
Negative.
All right. So say Republicans started it. My big thing is if they overturned Roe v. Wade, right? That's a big fear right now with the whole Brett Kavanaugh hearings and stuff like that. Oh, another right-wing official taking over for... Who's he taking over? Justice Kennedy, I think?
Right.
Who is one of the moderates?
Sure.
So, taking him over... Now
you won't return Roe v. Wade.
You know why they will never overturn Roe v. Wade? You would have a constitutional crisis at that point. Here's why.
I don't believe so. I don't believe that's not the reason why they wouldn't do it.
Why do you think they wouldn't?
I just think nobody would. I think at this point, this day and age...
Too popular to not, right?
I think it's too popular to not. Exactly. I don't even think they look at the ramifications of changing it. Mm-hmm. I think they solely look at, hey, it's been around, it works. We don't agree with it morally.
We may not agree with it morally, but it keeps people
at bay.
It keeps people, and that's where I get to the constitutional crisis point. Say it did become the law of the land, abortions are illegal. Most states would go against federal law.
No.
I understand the whole aspect of it. I don't know, man.
That's not war worthy though.
I think it would be war worthy in the sense that you would have
Who's going to start the war though?
You would have a chip, so right, you would have blue states that are like, we're not going to listen to what the federal government says, and if we don't have to listen to Roe v. Wade, we don't have to listen to this rule. We don't have to listen to this rule.
Then I agree. You're not going to have a war though. You're going to have an You're going to have an economic crisis.
You're going to have a lot of separation of states from the country, and then you're going to have
The states aren't going to What do you mean by separate?
Division beyond what we have now, and I think the division is what would cause a Revolutionary War Part 2.
So my theory and my way of thinking would be, if that situation were to happen, the state would then say, okay, federal government, we're not going to agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the federal government is going to say, if it's a Republican president,
sure,
right, is going to say, well, then fine, we're not going to give you any financial aid anymore.
Sure.
You're not getting any federal money to your state. The state's going to collapse. The state's going to bow down.
In poverty and stuff like that.
The state will bow down. The state will compromise its morals in order to keep money flowing in. It has to.
Here's why I don't think it happens. The sanctuary cities. Boston is still considered a sanctuary city. They've threatened to lose federal funding for the state of Massachusetts. I don't know if Boston in particular.
No, Boston will lose federal funding.
Boston will lose federal funding.
Not the entire state.
Not the entire state, but Boston, and then you have Framingham and stuff like that. So that would lose money going into the state itself still. So they still are for it, is what I guess I'm trying to say. So that precedent set right there. Well, we don't care if you cut our federal funding for this. This is still a sanctuary city.
But it doesn't matter. But the federal government would cut all federal funding to the state. That's a big deal.
And then when the state collapses, though, what are they going to do? Just bend back
over to the federal? The state won't collapse. The state will bend its morals. That's no state. I don't believe that the integrity of any state in this country besides Texas. And I mean that. And I'll get to that in a minute.
Texas is unyielding.
I firmly believe that 49 states would bend every moral they've ever had in order to continue to get money. Absolutely.
California.
In order to continue to get money.
Abortions.
Roe v. Wade?
Sure.
Oh, absolutely. California would never pull away from the federal government. They need it. They're like a leech.
I don't think so. There's a whole vote as to why they want to secede from the country.
But they won't.
They're the 8th largest economy in the world.
But they won't.
They make plenty of money.
But they won't.
They won't.
They won't.
They won't.
So Texas would. Texas would say, you know what, federal government, even though we don't, let's pretend Texas agreed with Roe v. Wade.
Sure.
And wanted abortions to be legal. Texas would say, you know what, America, that's great. We're sending all of your troops that are stationed in Texas home. We're sending all of your federal workers home. We're paying them to move out, get them out of our state.
Yep.
We're seceding.
Yep.
We have our National Guard unit in Texas that's going to take care of Texas, and we're all set. Thank you. Have a nice day. Americans can come and go as they please. No federal workers, please.
I mean, the only thing that's so crazy about that is that I could see Texas succeeding in that
And Texas
scenario.
would have no issues.
Yeah, Texas.
Nobody would fuck with it.
Nope. I agree.
Sorry about that.
Agree. It's fine.
That flew out.
It's explicit.
So, I think that in a Roe v. Wade situation, if a Democratic president was running the show, I think that there would be a huge upcry from the blue states. I think that there'd be a massive issue with it, but I think it'd be worked out.
Yep.
I don't think people would.
You think it'd be able to fix itself?
Yes.
I don't know, man.
I do.
I don't know.
I think that it might come down to the Colorado thing, where Colorado legalized pot.
Right.
But on the federal level, it's not.
Yep.
Right. So I think that it might be one of those things where the federal government kind of turns a blind eye and says, "Well, we're calling it illegal. States do whatever you want to do."
Sure. That's a good example.
You know what I mean?
That is definitely a good example.
So I don't know. I think there might be some sort of way to work around that. Now, I think that a real fighting word type issue in this country would be something like what we said earlier: gun rights, First Amendment, search and seizures, housing troops. If you had to quarter troops, there's an amendment that you don't have to quarter troops.
Sure. Yep.
That in and of itself is important.
I still feel like that's such a dated reference. I get why they have it, and I'm all for it, right? You don't have to... I mean, back in the Revolutionary War, most people had to harbor in British soldiers into their house. Like, you're forced to do it, right?
Right.
You had to do it. It's just so funny because it's such a dated reference.
It's your right, and you're allowed, under the Constitution, you're allowed to protect your rights from being taken from you unlawfully.
Yeah.
It's
just so funny
that includes using the Second Amendment.
Yep.
So you're backed by the federal government to go ahead and do whatever you have to do for the safety of your family.
Yeah. So then, say for example, then, right? Where was I here? So we're gonna have 2024. You have President, I don't know, Elizabeth Warren. All right, and then all of a sudden everything starts to break down. You think the right would have an advantage over the left?
Yes.
Why do you think that? And I'll tell you why you're wrong, but why do you think that?
Well, so you're asking me who I think
who
would
win
win
if we had a Revolutionary War Part 2? Would the conservative right-wingers win, or it's a culture war is what I want to say, but most of the culture is separated, I guess, between right and left wing and stuff like that. Because, I mean, you have the left-wing loonies who are all for, like, socialism and free handouts and
when you talk about a Revolutionary War, I picture a Revolutionary War in this country happening one way, and I don't agree with any other way that it could happen.
Okay, how do you see it?
So if a Revolutionary War happened, it would be federal government made some decision where the people do not agree. Now the people themselves would divide.
Mm-hmm.
Now one group of those people would be, let's call them the outliers. Mm-hmm. They are the group of people. They are that quote unquote 50%, that other army, that other half, that other entity that doesn't agree with that decision.
Okay.
And they're going to form their group. The other half is going to be the federal government. And the other group of the people that do agree with the federal government.
Yes, okay.
Now let's say they break up 50-50 evenly. Now that definitely won't happen.
It wouldn't happen like that, but sure.
Let's say what happened.
For the sake
the
of
federal government would have employees, and by employees I mean federal workers, United States military members, that would indeed leave the federal government against whatever their contract is, against whatever their orders are, to go be with the group that they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. Now, for example, let's say gun rights were the issue.
Sure.
Or First Amendment. You're not going to have a good old boy from Tennessee that's in the United States Marine Corps, that's a lance corporal, is not going to have to go knock on doors in Tennessee demanding that people show them their ID and go into their house and search their house. You'll never have that.
Nope.
You'll never have that. People will not... True Americans that are in the military will not compromise their rights because their sergeant ordered them to shoot innocent Americans.
Yeah.
They will not. It just will not happen.
It would be a concept of belief at that point, how you were raised.
It won't happen. People will leave. People will just leave the military.
Yep.
The people that stay deserve to be shot. You don't follow orders because you're told to and just kill innocent people.
Sure.
Nobody in this day and age will be told, hey, we're going to go to Main Street in small town Alabama, and our orders are to kill everybody there.
Yeah.
Nobody would believe that.
Yep.
Nobody would believe that that's right.
Yep.
So you're going to have a huge population of military members leave the federal government and go in this little small outlier group. Now, this little small outlier group are going to be comprised of mostly Southern raised individuals with conservative values. You're also going to have people from the blue states that are conservative values, and they're going to join that group. Then you're going to have the federal government, the big boys, right? Your police. Well, not even most of your police, because most of your police vote Republican. You're going to have the leftovers of everything. You're going to have the leftover military, the leftover police, the leftover firefighters, the leftover federal workers, the leftover state workers, and you're going to have the leftover people that agree or disagree, whatever the situation is, with the federal government. Now, the federal government might have made something that the left might have done something that the left doesn't agree with. But you'll never have the people in the country, just on the left, try to fight the United States military. You'll never have that.
Not a physical fight.
Correct. Right.
Not a physical fight. But here's where I think that things would get a little interesting. I'm going to give my interpretation of how I think it would happen.
Sure.
That's not a bad...
And then I think there would actually be a physical revolutionary war where people are killing people.
Well, I think if like a revolutionary war were to happen, you wouldn't have that much physicality. It would be fought virtually and through technology. And that's why I think the left has a huge advantage. They would fight it where they can send out... They're smart enough where they can block communications going in, in, say, Texas versus California. If you were to have a fight... Texas versus California, the reddest state versus the bluest state. I honestly think California would win, and here's why. California has all the technology. California has all the technology to lie to Texas, make other Texans believe in their fight, their things. They have the technology to stop all these fancy weapons that Texas might have. They can block communications. They can block satellites. They're smart enough to do that. They have a iron grip on technology. Texas, they have guns. Cool, but
that's not enough.
It's not enough.
No. I'm not saying what you're saying is enough. I'm saying what you think of California is not enough. I don't care that you have the biggest, baddest technology. I care that I have more boots on the ground, and I care that I have more guns. You can't shoot an EMP into the sky and then a gun doesn't work. We can shoot an EMP into the sky and stop all your computers from working, basically. I don't care.
Putting you into the dark ages.
But it doesn't matter. How are you going to still beat us? We have all the guns. We have all the things that will destruct
with one another. Your walkie-talkies don't even work at that point.
That's not entirely true. Ham radios.
Ham radio? That's how you
throw them in a Faraday cage. All of a sudden, bam! I still have a workable radio. I'm serious.
It would be interesting.
I'm serious. But you are under the impression that California is the only state with technology.
No, Texas is very technologically advanced too. I'm sure Texas is.
But that's the thing is, California is not even that militarized. You go to California, you have a couple military bases.
Sure.
But those are going to be siding with Texas in my scenario.
Sure. Maybe.
So that's my thing. Is you're not going to have a geek from some tech guru company in Silicon Valley going, oh, you know how we can get back at Texas? I know, I can build an EMP bomb.
I don't know, man. He who holds the key to technology or communication at that point.
I don't believe would win wars.
I don't know, man.
No way. I'm saying in an all-out fight, if it was Texas versus California in Battle of the Best, what state would prevail?
Over bronze. And I'm not trying to downplay.
But that's not brains over bronze, though. That's kind of looking at it just the wrong way.
I don't know. Maybe. I still think, though.
Put it this way: what is the population?
I wouldn't even go by population because
no. What is the population of California?
What are you looking?
You look up population in California. I'll look up population in Texas.
All right. Long pause.
I know. California is going to have more. That's kind of a given.
California would have more people. All right, I'm going to round up 40 million.
Damn.
What's Texas?
4,617,000.
No, I'm looking at Texas right here. It says it's about 28 million from a census.
28 million. 20 million.
28 million to
28.3 million in 2017.
Yeah, okay. There
population of counties in Texas with a population. Oh, okay. Oh, 4 million or more.
California is about 39.54, so I'm just going to say 40.
Sure.
Because a lot of them are probably undocumented, so it might be even more than that.
So roughly 11 million people. Difference. Those 11 million people are against guns. Those 11 million people have never picked up a gun, never shot a gun, never will shoot a gun, and are afraid to shoot guns.
They'll just build robots to shoot the guns for them.
But they won't. You can't. I'm saying in a war. I'm saying like if tomorrow you woke up.
Telling you in a war they would build robots. Silicon Valley is smart enough where they would build a Google robot smart enough to go in there, read you, and then,
come on,
basically break you apart, probably emotionally.
No. Come on, let's be real about
Bringing
this.
Up all your childhood.
You know that would never happen. You know that they would never be able to do that.
I think they would.
Given 15 years.
They don't even need 15 years.
Yes, they do. I'm saying if I had the National Guard of Texas get on buses, get in tanks, get on trucks, and cruise on over to California right now, they're not going to be met with no robots.
We'll shoot down your communication system, and we're going to build robots
down with
flamethrowers.
You don't have anything to shoot it down with.
We control the satellites. What are you talking
about?
Who
controls the satellites?
We can hack into the satellites from California.
California cannot hack into the federal government.
Could.
No, they could not.
If North Korea can, or not North Korea, who hacked into the...
No one did. Russia? All right, Hillary Clinton.
No, don't get me started.
Come on, man. No, let's be real.
North Korea hacked Sony in California.
How I
see reverse some of that. They hacked Sony in California.
Let's be real. I think that if a Revolutionary War happened, it would be Republicans versus Democrats. The federal government would be on the Democratic side.
Sure.
And you'd have all the good old boys kicking ass. That's just how it would be.
List it off in the comments below. Who do you think would win? Technology or guns?
Red. It's going to be red.
I would root for Texas, but I just think whoever
Blood
has
makes the grass grow.
Whoever has a stronghold on technology has the advantage.
But we have it. Republicans have it. Red has it. Southern states have it. We have technology.
You think Texas is more technologically moved forward than California?
No, I don't. No. I don't agree with that.
New
No,
York?
I do not. I do not think that is true. But the issue is, a huge part of New York is red. New York
Sure.
is very blue in New York City.
Even California is very red outside of Los Angeles.
Right, that's my point.
San Diego, San Francisco. Just that's where most
of the people that live in California are in the entertainment industry. You need to understand
Not
that.
necessarily true.
I agree. Right, but I would say a huge portion of them are. A huge portion are technology. But that huge portion of technology might be advancements in cars, or it might be advancements in audio.
It's computer science as well, though.
Right, sure. But I don't agree that you could have them attack every single piece of communication, every single electrical system on another army, and it would win.
I mean, you have all of Silicon Valley, right? Where you have
You're
Apple.
acting like California could take on any country in the world.
I'm not saying that.
Technology-wise.
No. If anything, the only one that could do that technology-wise is Japan, because they're at least 10 years ahead of everybody else when it comes to technology. Maybe Korea as well. South Korea. The good friends down south in Korea.
I don't know.
But let me get off of that subject. That was a good one. I mean, like I said, sound off. Who do you think would win? California or Texas?
Texas.
I wish Texas would
Full
win, but I
send.
just don't believe it.
You're going to see a dude on a horseback with dual ARs.
I mean, really?
With the legal magazine, right? With the legal amount of rounds in the magazine, and he's going to plow through California single-handedly because everybody else is going to go, help, he's got guns.
He's got a gun.
And he's going to single-handedly take down California. One guy, one horse. Prove me wrong.
Maybe.
And a beer. And a lasso.
Maybe.
Or a cowboy hat.
Maybe.
And some punch of skull, son.
Here's how I see a Revolutionary War happening. Remember 2016 with the whole... I mean, it's not so much prevalent now because I think most people are starting to realize that these are terrorist groups, that these are hate groups that don't like America, that are very violent and bad. Groups like Antifa, right? Remember Antifa? Remember, like Black Lives Matter?
They do?
All these groups that were just like very violent, would have violent protests. They didn't have peaceful... The tolerant left did not have peaceful protests.
Sure.
Okay, they were very violent people. How I see it happening is maybe something happens that triggers these folks, and they go out and recruit more, and we can't stop them from recruiting. At this point, we have too many of them. They got out of hand, and there's the division there. So I'm going to use it as dramatic numbers that would probably not be the case.
Yep.
What was the election result in 2016? Hillary won the popular vote 62 million to Donald Trump's 60 million or something like that. It was a couple million vote difference.
Sure.
Which, if you think about it on that scale, isn't really a lot.
Right.
On a scale that big.
Right.
So say that's what you have. You have a lot of these people that were culturally wanting free this, free that, and we're going to riot and loot over it. We got to stop them on the other side. How do we stop them? Because these people have weapons. Antifa has guns. Antifa has shanks.
Yeah, but Antifa's not nearly set up as...
I'm not saying they're nearly set up as anything. I'm saying we just let them get out of control, and there's too many of them. You can't put them all in jail. You can't... What are you going to do at this point? They're going to fight no matter what, because they're...
Are we saying under Revolutionary War type deal? Or are we saying like Antifa versus somebody, or are we saying Antifa is just rioting and getting more rowdy and starting...
Antifa, for example, I'm just using Antifa as an example. It might be something completely different, because I think, like I said, I haven't heard from Antifa in a while. They're probably dead. Nobody knows what happened to them. Their organization is just completely dead. Could be wrong. Probably not. Don't know. You have maybe President Elizabeth Warren, who sympathizes... I'm telling you, 2024.
I hate that.
2024, I could just see it.
That.
Ugh. I hope not. I hope it's President Pence or President Don Jr.
No, President Mattis.
President Mattis. But say you have someone
Mad Dog President.
Someone on the Democratic side that sympathizes. I remember Obama used to sympathize with these people.
With the Muslims.
I'm just saying, these people would riot and loot and hand out shanks to their people saying we got to do bad things, right? So you have your president sympathizing with these people, and then others like, why are you sympathizing with?
I heard he was part of ISIS.
He might be.
Might be.
Alex Jones, look into it. I don't really think he is. That's how I could see it happening, is that you have a violent hate group like that gets a little too much traction, and then you have maybe it's not even maybe it is a Republican president, maybe it's President Mike Pence, right? And then he's like, well, these people are terrible, but then you have senators like, who's that senator that I can't stand?
If you had a hate group become too big, I think Americans would take care of it themselves.
How?
Force.
They become vigilantes?
No, I think that there'd be a movement. There would be, hey, listen, you want to cause trouble in my town where you're going to be met by...
So there'd be a war in the town?
Sure.
Sounds a little revolutionary.
Well, that's my point, is like, I think... so, under the Second Amendment, you can form a well-regulated militia.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you know, the National Guard is not a well-regulated militia.
Interesting.
Yeah. And when it's run by the federal government...
Yeah.
No.
It's run by the state, isn't it? National Guard is run by the state.
Yeah, it's run by the state, but it gets its orders from the federal government.
Oh.
So the National Guard is not just like
it's not like a militia then, where it's just...
To me, a militia...
Like the NRA could be considered a militia. Would you deny that?
Sure.
Okay.
So like, a militia is, I live in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Sure.
And I have 50 friends of mine that own guns, think all the same, and I want to run amok with them. I want to make a movement on my own, defend our neighborhood.
Okay.
Right? Let's say there's a revolutionary war going on and I wanted to defend my neighborhood. I could create a militia, which is those 50 young men, just like me, that are going to run around with AR-15s, plate carriers, Glocks, and homemade smoke grenades, and we're going to take care of business. That's a militia.
Yep.
Right? It's a well-regulated militia that's there to defend the state.
To defend the town that's being looted and burned to the ground.
Inside of that respective state.
Yep.
Right? That's a militia. The National Guard gets its orders. It is the Army. It is the Navy. It is the Coast Guard. It is the Air Force. It is the Corps.
Yep.
You get your orders from the federal government, though.
Uh-huh.
How does anybody not see the flaw in that?
I guess, yeah, at that point, if it's from the government, I guess it wouldn't be considered a militia then.
A state just can't decide, hey, listen, we're going to deploy to Iraq. No,
the way I always see a militia is that it's not like under the radar type thing, but it's just a group of regular people.
It's just a group of regular, everyday, patriot Americans that want to protect the country.
Yeah. I wish that would happen. When I see people burning and looting out their own town, first of all, you're an idiot because your tax dollars are going to have to go to fix all that. So you're just losing money at that point, and you look ridiculous. But at the same point, it's like when I see that, I wish there was a regulated militia, like the towns of like the heroes of the town.
But the issue is, even if there was, let's say I ran the militia.
Citizens arrest.
Yeah.
Put them under citizens arrest and tase their ass.
You can't do a citizens arrest anymore. There is no such thing as a citizens arrest.
What do you mean there's no such thing as a citizens arrest?
How do you arrest somebody?
If they're breaking the law, you break their kneecaps and you wait for the police to say, I took him down, he was causing a ruckus.
No, you're going to get arrested for assault.
I know, you get arrested for assault.
That is what's wrong with this country.
That's the problem, yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
I totally agree. There could be a dude breaking every window in a Starbucks. You could go over to and hold him and beat the shit out of him and hold him there until the cops come. You're going to get arrested for assault and battery.
And this is why people don't want to get involved. If you see someone on the streets getting their ass whooped and then you intervene trying to stop the ass whooping, you're all of a sudden a liability. You become part of the problem. You're not helping.
Well, you're part of it.
Exactly.
You're part of it. If you beat them to the pulp, you could be arrested. The state could bring up charges.
I think that's an issue.
Yeah.
That's a big issue.
I totally agree. So, I don't know. I think I've always said do what's right. Do what you have to do. Yeah. Regardless if in the eyes of the law it's right or wrong, do what you have to do. Do what you morally think is right. If it's going to come at the cost of you sacrificing your life, well, that's up to you to decide.
Yeah.
If it's up to the cost of you giving up your life and sacrificing your family's life,
sure, other
people's, you still need to weigh that option. You still need to think about it, right? I don't know. I think that if anything were to happen, there'd be good Americans and there'd be shitty Americans. There'd be a good side of the government. There'd be a bad side of the government. The good side will win. The good side is the patriotic side.
Good always prevails over evil. I actually genuinely believe that.
Always. So I would never be worried about what side I'm going to be on when a war like this happens.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't. We're in the bluest state. For us to get to safe haven,
we're not in the bluest state, but we're in a blue state.
We're in a very blue state. We're like, I would say second. I would say second or third. third. I would say third. California, New York, Massachusetts, and then I go Washington, and I might go Florida.
I'd say Washington is a lot. Florida's purple. But I would say Washington is definitely a lot more liberal than Massachusetts. Massachusetts is...
You got Maine and New Hampshire and Vermont, dude. New England's all blue.
New England's
just very blue, man. There's no way around it. I mean, sometimes we've gone Republican, but...
We're one of the last states that's, like, genuinely, to an extent. You have a lot of bad Democrats like Ed Markey, Elizabeth Warren. But then you have ones that aren't really pieces of garbage, like the mayor of Boston.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a fan of him
He's
either.
a piece of garbage.
They're not like the far left Democrats.
Sure. Yeah, man, I don't know. I mean, even if something were to happen, I feel like me and you would not feel enough throwback and blowback in our area that if we had to get out and we had to go to somewhere south or somewhere out west, I feel like we could get out there very easily.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be worried about that. There would be a lot of red. There'd be a lot of red. There'd be a lot of people.
Most of the country is red.
A lot of people in this country are red. They have red tending views, but the issue is they don't develop. Most people develop red tendencies later on in life.
Yeah.
Because they've lived life, they know what it's like. They have their views.
When young people are really stupid, they're like, "Let's just give all of our money away to free."
That's how it goes.
And it's
like,
well, when you have things to pay like bills and shit, you kind of want to keep that money.
Absolutely, that's how it goes.
Yeah.
I don't think we would have an issue. I think in a revolutionary war, you'd have the left win, and that's the end of it. That was a joke.
Be interesting.
You're gonna have the right
win. I didn't even catch that until you said it. The left win.
You're gonna have the right win, and that's the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, man. I don't know. Got anything else?
No, I think that's it.
I honestly thought this would have lasted a lot longer, but we burned through a lot of stuff in just like 41 minutes. It's pretty good.
Right.
Pretty good. Make sure you follow us on Twitter @TheCapToday, Instagram @TheCapToday, and we'll see you folks in the next one.